So a couple weeks ago, I had someone that was moving into the area of Hampton Roads, and they were completely new to Hampton Roads and knew nothing about any of the cities. One of the first questions they asked me was that when they were researching, they had seen a lot of negative news about Portsmouth, Virginia. Their first question was all the negative news true? I sat there for a little bit and actually thought pretty quickly I could come up with quite a few positive things about Portsmouth, Virginia. And that's actually where I came up with this video today. This video, I'm going to show the top 5 pros of living in Portsmouth, Virginia. Being that I'm going to be brutally honest, I will also go over the top 5 cons of living in Portsmouth, Virginia. So let's go ahead and hop on the video. Hello, my name is DJ Parker of the Life in Hampton Roads team. If this is your first time visiting our channel publishes all the content you need to know about living and life in Hampton Roads. So if that's the type of content you're looking for, make sure you hit that subscribe button below. Also, don't forget to tap that little notification bell. That way you're notified anytime we drop new content, which we do weekly, all about life in Hampton Roads. Honestly, over the years, my team and I, we have helped many, many people who are moving in and out of Hampton Roads, and we absolutely love doing it. If you're actually thinking about making that move in or out of Hampton Roads, we want to hear from you. Please reach out to us via phone, shoot us a text, email, whatever your preferred method is. We're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We cannot wait to help you. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, in this video here, I'm going to go over with you the top 5 pros and also the top 5 cons of living in Portsmouth, Virginia. Just to give you a little rundown of what Portsmouth, Virginia is and where it's located, it's actually very centrally located within Hampton Roads. 264 runs right through Portsmouth, Virginia. It's along the Elizabeth River. It's southwest of Norfolk and a little north of Chesapeake. So let's go ahead and get into my number 1 pro of living in Portsmouth, Virginia. So my number 1 pro of living in Portsmouth, Virginia would definitely have to be the housing cost. The cost of housing when compared to other cities in Hampton Roads is much cheaper. We're going to hop on my computer real quick. I'm going to show you a chart that comes from our local MLS, Real Estate Information Network, and it actually shows you the pricing of houses, median price of houses, compared to different cities through over the last 15 years. So let's go ahead and hop on my computer here and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so here we are on my computer. This is information from, like I mentioned, our local MLS, the Real Estate Information Network. What this chart does is actually shows you the median sales price from 2004 to current. As you can see in the south side, this is just showing the south side cities. The median sales price within Southside Hampton Roads is $315,000. It's actually down 4.5%. So that's something we are starting to see now that we're hopefully coming out of COVID, is the crazy prices are starting to go down a little bit. A lot of people were paying extra just to get a house. We are starting to see that slow down a little bit. And also, when you look from the same period over prior year, the amount of houses are actually up 3.2%. So that's some more good news. Now, when you look at the overall cities here, as I mentioned, Portsmouth, compared to all the other cities in Southside Hampton Roads, is actually the cheapest. They are this blue line right here. And Portsmouth is right around $232,000 for the median sales price. When you compare that to some other cities in Hampton Roads, this green is Norfolk. Norfolk's right around $281,000, $282,000. Then the orange here is actually Virginia Beach. As you can see, it's just a little south of $330,000. And then you move into Suffolk and Chesapeake. So Chesapeake's right around a little above $351,000. And then actually more recently, Suffolk got a lot of new higher end construction being built in Suffolk, and that's actually topped out right around $360,000. So currently, median sales price, Suffolk is leading the way. So as you can see, compared to all the cities within Southside Hampton Roads, the cost of houses in Portsmouth is definitely less than the other cities within Hampton Roads. All right, so I mentioned how I wanted to be brutally honest in this video, and that's why we're going to actually go into my number one con of living in Portsmouth, Virginia. My number one con is, especially if you plan on raising a family within Portsmouth, Virginia, as my number one con would just be the overall school systems. Now, my con is not from my personal opinion. What we're going to do is hop on my computer. We're going to go to a website called niche.com, which compares Portsmouth and other cities in Hampton Roads and other cities throughout the country and rates the schools and the school system overall. And as you'll see, when you stack up Portsmouth to some of the other cities within Hampton Roads, their score is not near as high as some of the other cities. So that's why that's my number one con. But let me go ahead and hop on my computer so I can show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so we're on my computer here. We're actually on the website called niche.com. I will leave a link in the description below so you can actually see for yourself. But a couple things I wanted to show you. This is actually a really awesome website when you're comparing not only schools, but just a lot of different things about the cities. So as you can see here, I have Portsmouth City Public Schools pulled up. The overall grade that Niche has given it is a C. So as I mentioned, this is not my opinion. I'm getting this information from niche.com. To give you an idea of what some of the other cities in Hampton Roads have scored, Virginia Beach was given an A, Norfolk a C+, Chesapeake A-, Suffolk a B-, and Newport News a B- as well, and Hampton a C+. So as you can see, Portsmouth unfortunately scores on the bottom in rankings for niche.com. As far as the different schools, Portsmouth has 3 different high schools. Real quick here, this map, you can go see where all the schools are, and it actually gives the niche.com grade when you go to each school. As you can see, there's quite a few C's and C+ and C-. But as I was mentioning, the 3 high schools in Portsmouth, the highest ranked one is Churchland High School, which was given a B in niche.com. Woodrow Wilson was given a C+, and then IC Norcom was given a C. So as I mentioned, when you're looking to purchase a house, whether you have a family or not, the schools are very important because it really can impact the value of your house. So unfortunately, that's why I would have to say my number one con of living in Portsmouth, Virginia would be the schools. Okay, so moving right along, we're now into my number 2 pro of living in Portsmouth, Virginia. And I actually kind of alluded to this earlier when I talked about Portsmouth in the beginning. And that would just be the central location of Portsmouth to all the other cities in Hampton Roads. I'm going to show you on a map some of the major landmarks throughout Hampton Roads and give you an idea of how close it is or isn't to those landmarks. And I think you'll see that one thing about living in Portsmouth, Virginia, is you pretty much can get everywhere pretty quick. There, like I said, there's a major highway running through Portsmouth that can get you onto the other side of the water. You can also take the Monitor Merrimack Bridge to get into Newport News and Hampton. Pretty fast time. So let's go ahead and hop on my computer real quick because I wanted to show you what I was talking about there. Okay, so we're in here on Google Maps. You can see this red outline. That is actually Portsmouth. One of the pros of Portsmouth that I'll get over to in a later part of the video is actually the Children's Museum of Virginia. So that's definitely something you want to check out. But again, I'll talk about that later. But as I mentioned, very centrally located. As you can see here, this is actually Suffolk right here. You have 664, which leads into Hampton and Newport News. If I zoom in here, as you can see, 264 runs right through Portsmouth. And to give you an idea, if you stay on 264, once you go through the tunnel here, you're about 25 minutes to the Virginia Beach oceanfront. Also, Oceana is right there, and you're about 25 to 30 minutes to Oceana. Some other major bases, Little Creek, up here in northern Virginia Beach, you're about 20 minutes from central Portsmouth. NOB, it's not shown here, but this is where NOB is located. You're about 20 minutes from that. And then on the other side of the water, you have Langley, about 30 minutes away, Fort Eustis, about 40 minutes away. So one of the good things about living in Portsmouth, Virginia is you really can get anywhere you want to go very quickly compared to some of the other cities within Hampton Roads. Again, all that is factoring in traffic too. Depending on what time of the day, that can change. But my pro number 2 would definitely have to be the central location of Portsmouth to the other cities in Hampton Roads. By now, you've probably figured out, since I went over a pro, it's now time to go over a con. We're into my number 2 con of living in Portsmouth, Virginia. And unfortunately, I think this is where a lot of the negative news comes from, and that would be the overall crime in Portsmouth, Virginia. Now, we're not just going to go with my opinion. I'm actually going to show you some data. We're going to hop back on my computer. We're going to go to a website called Neighborhood Scout. Again, I will also put that link in the description below. But Neighborhood Scout is a website where you compare crime to other cities within Hampton Roads and across the United States. So let me show you some stats to compare it to other cities in Hampton Roads, and you can make that determination for yourself. But I think you'll pretty much fairly easily see, unfortunately, why this is my number 2 con of living in Portsmouth. Okay, so we're here on my computer, Neighborhood Scout. This is showing Portsmouth, Virginia's crime rates. You can also look up basic information about the cities, some information about different real estate that's available, the demographics of the city, the school systems and grades on the schools. This is a very similar site to niche.com. This website's actually used by investors who don't really know much about different areas throughout the country, so they use this website a lot. So looking here at the city, a map of the city, it's actually broken down by a color chart here. The darker purple shades is where it's most dangerous, versus the lighter purple is where it's the safest. As with many cities, downtown, which happens to be right around here, is where the most dangerous is. A lot of crime usually happens in downtown areas. That's no different in Norfolk, downtown Virginia Beach, Chesapeake. Again, that's pretty much average for other cities throughout Hampton Roads. But one thing I did want to go over is Neighborhood Scout. They have a crime index with 100 being the safest. Portsmouth was given a 3. Basically what that means is Portsmouth is only safer than about 3% of the U.S. cities. To give you an idea of where that compares to other cities in Hampton Roads, Virginia Beach was given a 38, Norfolk a 10, Chesapeake a 25, Suffolk was also given a 25, Newport News was given a 19, and Hampton was given an 18. So unfortunately, similar to schools, Portsmouth, according to these websites, is definitely not performing on the same level as some of the other cities in Hampton Roads. So that is why my number 2 con of living in Portsmouth, Virginia would be the overall crime rate. Hey guys, I hope you like what you've seen so far. If you have, please make sure you hit that like button below. That way we can get this video out to as many people as possible. Also, as I mentioned earlier, this is the type of content we publish every week here on the Life of Hampton Roads channel. So if that's the type of content you're looking for, hit that subscribe button below, tap that notification bell. That way you know anytime we drop new content. Last thing I want to mention, if you're thinking about making the move in and out of Hampton Roads, my team and I, we want to help you. So please reach out to us. We're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We can't wait to hear from you. We want to help you. So let's get back into my pros and cons of living in Portsmouth, Virginia with pro number 3. Okay, so my number 3 pro of living in Portsmouth, Virginia is actually something that I feel is really underrated in all of Hampton Roads, and that would be the area of Old Town Portsmouth. You'll see here, we're going to hop on my computer. I'm going to show you just some of the overall areas in Old Town Portsmouth and what makes it unique, and I think you'll be able to see pretty easily why I think it's the number 3 pro of living in Portsmouth, Virginia, and honestly, I could put it as my number 1 pro as well. All right, so we're here on my computer in Google Maps. This is Portsmouth. The shaded area red is all of Old Town Portsmouth. So if you're coming from Norfolk, you would go across the Berkeley Bridge and then obviously go through the tunnel. As soon as you go underneath the Elizabeth River and come out, Old Town Portsmouth is right there on your right side. So I wanted to kind of show you a couple different areas, places I think you should check out within Old Town Portsmouth. So let me get to the satellite view here. This is actually Elizabeth River right here. This would be Norfolk. So as you come through the tunnel here, This is actually where you would come out on 264 in the tunnel. This whole area here is Old Town Portsmouth, as you can kind of see this red outline. One of the things I wanted to show you first, it's kind of outside Old Town Portsmouth, but that would be right here. That is the Atlantic Union Bank Pavilion. They got a lot of great concerts that come through here time to time. Comparing this pavilion to the Virginia Beach Amphitheater, this is a much smaller venue. So some of the major acts don't necessarily come here, but you can see some great concerts. One of my favorite concerts I've ever seen was actually here when it was the Intellos Pavilion, and that was Lynyrd Skynyrd. That was a great concert. So I'm zooming back out here. The main road is Court Street, and then you also have High Street, which is right here. Those are two of the major roads in Old Town. A lot of different restaurants on High Street. I'm going to see if I can zoom in here and do this right. The Noodle House right here on High Street. You got Roger Brown's restaurant and sports bar. Hey guys, got to stop right here. While recording this, I totally forgot to mention one of the most awesome places in all of Old Town, and that would be the Beer Garden. It's a German restaurant that has over 23 German beers on tap, as well as over 400 beers total. Definitely want to check this place out. Get closer to Court Street. You have one of the most well-known places in all of Portsmouth. It's an awesome place to check out movies. I apologize for my internet being a little slow here, but that would be the Commodore Theater. We have cinema cafes throughout Hampton Roads, but the Commodore was actually the first movie theater in Hampton Roads, in my opinion, where you could actually go see a movie, but also eat kind of in a restaurant setting. As I mentioned, cinema cafe is very similar to that, but the Commodore is extremely underrated. Awesome place to go see a show. And as I mentioned, you dress up to go see a movie, take a date. It's a good time. So that would be the Commodore right here. Apologize, guys. This technology is a little much for me. And then zooming out, pretty much there's a ton of different shops and restaurants within Old Town. And then it's also really cool to see the history within Old Town, all the different old houses you can go see. Along the water, you do have the Naval Museum. Let's see. Then right here is the Renaissance Hotel, where a lot of people have Christmas parties at. Different events are held at the Renaissance Portsmouth, and it actually overlooks the Elizabeth River right across the way into Norfolk, Virginia. And then one last place I wanted to show, a restaurant that I personally really like, and that would be Fish and Slips. And again, I apologize, my internet's running a little slow here. But this is Fish and Slips Marina. It's a raw bar and grill. It's, as it says, it's on a marina. It's right on the water. There's outdoor dining. Great place to eat. So make sure you check out that. And then also new is the Freedom Boat Club. If you want to have a boat, but you don't really want to own a boat, Freedom Boat Club, something to check out as well, as you can rent a boat. So I hate to ramble on here, but definitely want to check out Old Town Portsmouth. There's a lot to do. I probably really didn't do a very good job of explaining it, but you need to check it out. And this is my number 3 pro of living in Portsmouth, Virginia, and that would be Old Town Portsmouth. Okay, my number 3 con of living in Portsmouth, Virginia would unfortunately be the tolls that you're going to have to pay if you travel outside of Portsmouth, Virginia. A lot of people who live in Portsmouth, Virginia live outside, work outside of Portsmouth, Virginia, whether they work in Virginia Beach, Norfolk. Pretty much if you're going across the Elizabeth River, you're going to have to pay a toll. The 2 toll locations, we're going to hop on my computer so I can show you. Those are the Downtown Tunnel and the Midtown Tunnel. So let's hop on my computer so I can show you where they're located, and we'll also go over the fees associated with these tolls. All right, so we're back on my computer, back on Google Maps. I'll try and do a better job this time with the technology of Google Maps to kind of explain it a little better. Shaded in red here is Portsmouth. There's 2 tunnels you're going to go through if you're going into Norfolk, Virginia Beach. There's other ways, obviously, to go to Norfolk or Virginia Beach, but if you want to get there the quickest, you're going to have to go through a toll. Those locations, the first one would be the downtown tunnel, which leads right into Norfolk. And then if you're heading into Ghent, towards ODU, towards Norfolk Naval, that would be the Midtown Tunnel. Both of these tunnels are operated by Elizabeth River Tunnels. If you're going to be living in Portsmouth, Virginia, you definitely want to get an Easy Pass, as these are the current rates that went into effect this year. As you can see, comparing Easy Pass versus just pay by plate, there is no cash option, so you're going to get a bill in the mail if you don't have an Easy Pass. And I got to tell you too, make sure you pay your bill if you get it, because they add these obscene fees if you're late that can turn a $5 bill into a $30 bill, which turns into a $60 bill really quick. So that's one of my pro tips here. Definitely make sure you get an Easy Pass, and if not, make sure you pay the bill on time. I can attest to that. All right, we're moving right along. My pro number 4 of living in Portsmouth, Virginia is actually a pro of living in any city in Hampton Roads, and that would be the weather of living in Portsmouth, Virginia. So let's go ahead and hop on my computer real quick so I can show you some of the averages, and you'll see why I feel the weather is definitely a pro of living in Portsmouth, Virginia. So one of the things I like about living in Virginia, any city in Hampton Roads, Virginia, is the fact that we really do have all 4 seasons. Portsmouth is no different. I'm here on Google. This is just showing you the high and low averages and how much rain we get per month in Portsmouth, Virginia. So as you can see, in January and February, it does tend to get pretty cool. Some would say cold. Not a whole lot of snow, but we do occasionally get some snowfall. Then when you're moving out of the wintertime into April, May, and June, that is one of my favorite times of the year. As you can see, most of the time, 70-degree weather. Not a ton of rain, but we do get some rain. We do get some spring storms, so that is always something you got to factor in. However, the spring weather is incredible. It's great to get outside. Portsmouth is no different. I will tell you, living in any city in Hampton Roads, the summer can be brutal. I personally love the summer because I like going to the beach, like swimming in the pool. But as you can see here in July and August, temperatures on average are around 88 to 86 degrees. They will exceed that. Sometimes we'll even get into the hundreds. But with humidity, the heat index in the summertime is well over 100 degrees. And we do get a little bit of rain in the summer. So again, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I mentioned we had 4 seasons, but the summer is brutal here, especially with humidity. But I still think the weather here in Portsmouth is a pro. Then moving into my favorite time of the year, fall time. Obviously football season starts, so that's always a plus. But incredible weather. As you can see, September, October, even into November, 60s to 80s. The one thing I will tell you, in the months of August through October, you do have to watch out with is hurricanes. They don't happen but so often where they hit direct hits into Hampton Roads, but it can happen. So that's something you need to consider if looking into moving into any city in Hampton Roads. So I want to be honest about it. But again, it doesn't happen very often. It's just something you got to watch for. So I say, compared to living in Florida or compared to living in upstate New York, if you like the different seasons, you're definitely going to get that in Virginia, in Hampton Roads. And that's why it's my number 4 pro of living in Portsmouth, Virginia. So my number 4 con of living in Portsmouth, Virginia is actually the real estate taxes in Portsmouth, Virginia. I tell you what, unfortunately, the city got a raw deal when it came to the tolls. And I feel the residents of Portsmouth are getting a raw deal when it comes to real estate taxes. The city of Portsmouth, Virginia has the highest real estate tax per $100 in all the cities within Hampton Roads. The real estate tax in Portsmouth, Virginia is $1.30 per $100 of assessed value. When you compare that to other cities in Hampton Roads, Virginia Beach, which has the lowest, is 99 cents per $100 of value. Chesapeake is $1.05. Norfolk isn't cheap. It's still less than Portsmouth, though, at $1.25. Suffolk, $1.09. Hampton, $1.18, and Newport News, again, not cheap, at $1.22, but all of those are still less than Portsmouth's $1.30 per $100 of assessed value. So I think it's pretty easy to see, similar to the crime, similar to the schools, that unfortunately Portsmouth is a little behind some of the other cities. With this, they're not behind, they're ahead of the cities in the overall cost of real estate taxes, and that's why it would be a con for me, and that's my number 4 con of living in Portsmouth, Virginia. All right, so if you made it this long, I feel like I'm holding out my number 5 pro, as it's probably my favorite pro, but I held for it at the end. My number 5 pro, I've mentioned a few times in this video, would be the Children's Museum of Portsmouth. I gotta tell you, this is a great museum to bring your children. Even if you don't have any kids, it's an awesome museum to check out. I remember when I was younger, my mom bringing my brother and I, and just all the different exhibits we got to check out. A lot of different learning as it is a museum, but it's made directly for kids. There's a really cool train exhibit where you can see a lot of different model trains. I remember going to do that when I was a kid. Also, one of the most popular exhibits in the museum is the bubble exhibit. You can make bubbles of many different sizes. You can actually put yourself in a bubble, family members in a bubble. Kids and family members really enjoy doing this. I can't stress enough how cool of a place the Children's Museum is. It's really not very expensive. It is closed on Monday and Tuesdays, so that's something you need to factor in if you're visiting in the area. But I can't stress enough. Definitely need to check out the Children's Museum. I would put it on top with the aquarium in Virginia Beach. I really think this is a museum that doesn't get talked about enough. Not just from having a fun perspective, but just a lot of the different learning aspects. I know I'm rambling on here, but I can tell you I had a lot of fun there as a kid, and I think you'll have a lot of fun with your family as well. So please make sure you check out that Children's Museum, and that's my number 5 pro of living in Portsmouth, Virginia. All right, so we went over the 5 pros of living in Portsmouth, Virginia. Now I'm going to get into my number 5 con of living in Portsmouth, Virginia. This con actually has a lot to do with what I first talked to in the very beginning of this video, and that would just be the overall public perception of Portsmouth, Virginia. There's a lot of negative press that comes out about Portsmouth, Virginia from time to time. The public perception of Portsmouth, Virginia is really just not very good when you compare it to other cities in Hampton Roads. I'm not really sure it's warranted. I'm pretty sure a lot of it is overrated, but it is what it is, quite frankly. You're going to hear a lot of negative things about Portsmouth, Virginia. I showed you here, there's a lot of great things about Portsmouth, Virginia, but unfortunately, my number 5 con would just be the overall public perception, negative news, all around the city of Portsmouth, Virginia. I appreciate you watching my video of all the top 5 pros and cons of living in Portsmouth, Virginia. Hopefully after watching this video, you've got a better understanding of what it's like to live in Portsmouth, Virginia, and you can make your best judgment on whether that's a city you would like to live in or not. As I mentioned, this is the type of content we publish every week. So please, if that's the content you're looking for, make sure you hit that subscribe button below. Also, don't forget to tap that notification bell. That way you're notified anytime we drop content, which happens to be every week on this channel. Lastly, if you're making that move in and out of Hampton Roads, my team and I, we want to help you. Please reach out to us via phone, shoot us a text, send us an email. We want to hear from you. We're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we can't wait to hear from you, and we want to help you. Until the next time, I hope you have a great day.